Tiny as well as Timber. As this game scales, even if Anti-Mage buys Heart's not going to give him maximum protection. I actually, personally, if I'm honest here, Fluke, I like what I'm seeing from the Hustlers. I like this hype. I like this draft. The question, though, I have for them is execution.
Yeah. I think that's the thing for me, right, is I like both of the drafts, and both of them have good ways of playing their drafts and getting around it, but it definitely will come to execution. I'm looking towards at Xantic to be able to execute for his team, and even Supreme. So I think both of the two mid laners need to kind of have a big performance this time around to get a team into a good position in the mid game where they're able to actually execute and play these team fights. And I like how Zibe's decided to take a leaf out of 33's book. He hasn't gone the 5 gauntlets. He's gone 2 gauntlets and 2 circlets. So he's a little bit more even with his stat distribution. So I do like this. And I think this is the only way you can play this lane into the Anti-Mage is you just say, I'm going to get 2 levels in my passive, and then once I feel strong enough, I can just build a soul ring and then just go farm elsewhere while I'm trying to be this tanky hero in this lane.
Let's see how things start off, though, in this game before he becomes that uber tanky hero. It's D2 Hustlers contesting against ITB for some bounties here. It's just going to be a 2-2 trade. Nothing too special. Nothing out of the ordinary. So let's get into it. Lanes, let's see. So we have this Pango versus Tiny Middle. Oh, boring as hell. Unless somebody really messes up, nothing should be happening here. You just trade farm, and then you just trade farm, and you just trade farm. So Observer, shout out for starting us off middle, but we're not going to need to see this at least up until like 4 or 5 minutes. Thank you very much.
Yeah, power runes are going to be super important for both those two heroes. That's why I'm expecting to see like an early immersion rotation. The one thing for D2 Hustlers, they don't really have the same rotating supports that Into the Breach do have. So that could be an issue for them once these first power runes come up.
Look bottom, Divine Llama. This is how you deal with the Timber Soul, my friend. They go onto him, level 1 battery assault with level 1 meta coming in for attacker. And they just body block him and run him down. They know that he doesn't have access to the reactive armor just yet. So whilst he still only has Whirling Death, you exploit that timing, get some bonus gold into the Terrorblade. And best case scenario is that Otaka is the one that actually gets the kill. Very well done by the ITB lineup in this bottom lane.
Yeah, and the best thing about Respect going down is he brings the Band of Elvenskin down to the Terrorblade, so he's able to start out with a decent amount of agi.
Nice.
This just makes this lane so much easier.
So all you support players out there, moral of the story is please die for your carry, so you can come back with items for him as well. Thank you very much.
Yeah, as I said the other day when we were casting with Jamie Vincenzo, I am a core player, and that makes me happy. It brings a smile on my face. Like, yes, Pos 5 player, bring me. You are my glorified courier. So I spent a few years playing support. I played carry for many years, moved to support, and I've moved back to core lately, and let me tell you, it was, having net worth feels so good these days. I was like, what? I've missed this for so long. Yeah, just being able to click your Pos 5 and ask for tangos. You can't get them to be your personal salve bot anymore, which is a little sad, but you're still able to get a decent amount out of them, which feels good. And also shout out to all the really good Pos 5 players out there. You guys are probably one of the strongest mental human beings on the planet. I don't know how you stick with that, but, you know, praise to you. Praise be to the Pos 5 players in chat right now. The Pos 5 player in the top lane, Hakoda, putting some pressure onto Shebe. They actually glimpse him back. I mean, Shebe, if there's any lane an Underlord does not care about, like Disruptor normally is such a good laner these days, like which is a far cry from how he used to be. Nowadays, though, if you're playing Underlord, you don't care about this. You don't even have to buy a cloak. You just keep some mangoes on you. You've got some... Dude, he has double circuit. Is he going to go double bracer? I hope not. I think this is just like casual. Then he turns it into a fast Vanguard. Yeah, it probably will be. He will just get this Vanguard, and I think he'll try and figure out how he's feeling about the game in the lane. Can just go Arcane Boots and then just leave his stat items and just get rid of him as he feels fit. Can just make the decision. Respect was going to be able to get a kill there on a Theola core, but been able to get away from him. Unfortunately, because Divine Llama now has reactive armor, because Underlord just does not die in the top lane, and because it's unlikely that this anti-mage gets hit by an arrow, I don't think we're going to get that many kills for a while. I think it's going to just be a bit of a farm fest right now, which is, I guess, okay news for ITB. Underlord is doing a real number on the overall CS of Yuma. I mean, look at this, dude. He's 7 CS behind on this anti-mage right now. And it's not like this gets easier as time goes on, right? So already got the 2 points into the Atrophy Aura. At level 4, you get you just get the second point Firestorm, and then Yuma really can't touch you in the laning phase. Yeah, and this is why I was calling for it in the draft, right? It's just you get these stats and then you just have Atrophy Aura, and the Anti-Mage is one of those heroes that doesn't really get damage until later on, and he relies quite heavily on his mana break to be able to deal the damage to these offlaners, and it gets to the point where you've lost so much mana that the mana break does literally no damage to you, and you can see that Zibe is literally just sitting there and clicking back at Yuma, and it's going to get harder and harder, especially once he gets items.
Oh god. Oh, so 2 offlaners that can't die. Top lane, we have Shibe with the Ring of Health.
So.
A boring mid lane, Divine Llama with 2 points, reactive armor. So not much gonna happen. It's all gonna come down, I guess, to what the supports end up doing, right? Like who is being able to utilize this more passive early game to stack more, who's setting up the team for more success, where's the vision gonna go. And you were mentioning like the rotations for the power runes. 90 seconds until those end up spawning, and it doesn't feel like either of these lanes on either team is really set up. Outside of Immersion can go middle, I guess, but I guess between him and Theolocore, they're the only ones. But I don't want Theolocore being the one to come middle, right, at 6 minutes. Doesn't really help us out that much.
Yeah, that's why I'm really looking towards Immersion to be able to get a kill. He is going to have a little fight here with Hakoda. That's fine. But they've brought Theolocore up towards top.
And they've already triggered off the glimpse, though.
Was good.
Yeah, Immersion has some leap charges. It has a mango. Hakoda had already triggered off the glimpse, so no kill opportunity. Are they just going to straight up try lane against this Underlord and leave the Timbersaw alone? I guess you can.
I think they kind of need to pressure him a little bit, but still, like, the Enchantress is not going to do that much damage early on. So it's one of those things where she can threaten him a little bit so he can't just, like, freely stand up in the lane, but at the end of the day, I still don't think they're going to kill this Underlord for a very, very long time, especially now that he has his ring and he's, what, 300-ish gold away from Vanguard. And once that comes up, like, you literally just have to leave him alone.
How on earth are they going to deal with Shibe as this game scales later and later? Mid lane, they're setting up for these power runes. Looks like ITB, they really want these, but Theolocore has a Centaur Conqueror nearby. Potentially to try to deny the rune. We'll get the stomp out. And the rune goes bottom instead. Adzentic picks up the DD.
Yeah, want a bit of the RNG out there, but again, DTS has put themselves in the position to be able to win the RNG battle, right? Like they had the Centaur Conqueror at the top lane to potentially try and fight that one out, but they still won the RNG anyway. So now that there is everybody mid lane, 6 heroes, I still don't think there's going to be too much fighting happening. And maybe if Into the Breach want to try and get a kill with the Rolling Thunder, they can. But we're having a good old classic support 1v1. In the river.
A Sacred Arrow in a second, so should be able to get rid of the Centaur Conqueror. They go for the Swashbuckle, and there's the play. You just said it now. Rolling Thunder. Good times. Hakoda. Oh, Hakoda. Try it with the outplays. We'll still end up dying, though. At the same time, we do see Theolocore caught inside the power cogs by Respect. But Adzentic gonna try and cover the retreat of the Enchantress. And with DD going on to Adzentic, might actually kill off Respect, and does so with the tree throw. Okay, 1-1. Although that was some nice plays from Hakoda, sort of just wasting Supreme's Rolling Thunder. Feels bad.
It was funny. I was thinking to myself, I'm like, I wonder how long Supreme's going to stay in the Rolling Thunder to see if he could kill Hakoda. But yeah, so Supreme's a little smarter than that. Was able to get the free kill, and both mid laners get a +5 kill, so they're feeling pretty happy with how this is going. I think the biggest thing for me is that the Underlord is really doing a number on Yuma, whereas for the side of Into the Breach, they have a really good lane for the Terrorblade. Otaka's, you know, ahead of the Timbersaw, which is good for them because he can farm a lot faster than what the Anti-Mage can prior to the Battle Fury. And with this new like Vanguard build from AM, he is a little slower to get that Battle Fury in regards to him just getting tankier early on. So Into the Breach, they're probably feeling pretty happy with how this is going. Like Dragonlance is on the horizon now for Otaka. You know, Supreme got himself a solo kill. He's got Rolling Thunder coming back up. Maybe the next Power Rune could be where this game really kicks off.
The Power Rune will be grabbed up by Supreme here, as Otaka is also in this mid lane. They really wanted to try and find something off the back of this. If they had level 6 on Respect, maybe, but we're very far off from that mark. So Otaka just gonna keep farming jungle. Anti-mages move bottom, so Yuma can tank the tier 1 tower. I love this move from D2 Hustlers, because whilst Yuma is taking the tier 1 tower down bottom, they move Divine Llama top, so that he can provide the protection for their own tier 1. Shibe, as strong as he is, and as good as he gets against Timber later, right now you can't force him out of the lane, so you get to keep your tier 1, you take the enemies, more space for Yuma to try and farm up on this map.
Yeah. And this is where Dalai Lama is able to catch back up on the CS and really become a threat on the map, right? We've seen a lot of these Timbersaws go for these much more damage-focused builds.
They're going to still try to get this kill onto Hakoda. Supreme did not trigger out the Rolling Thunder, at least not yet. Has Swashbuckle in a moment. Can they find the vision? Hakoda will get himself swashed up. There's the Rolling Thunder. Is he going to make another dodge? Not this time. As he gets himself brought down, Yuma will mop up Respect in the opposite direction. If I'm D2 Hustlers, this is a W on top of W's. Not only do they not get to pressure the tower, not only does Yuma get to live, but my support dies first, so I get all the experience on the anti-mage. Good times.
Yeah, and I thought maybe Xantic was going to be able to get a little cherry on top, but he wasn't able to find the Terrorblade. And yeah, that's a really, really good trade there for D2 Hustlers. You get the Rolling Thunder out. Yeah, your +5 dies, but it's Hakoda. He's going to be doing that a lot this game, unfortunately. And your anti-mage is able to get that solo experience. Gets himself full treads. He's not going to go for the Vanguard this time around. I think he understands that this game is a whole lot slower than what it usually is against these anti-mages, and he can just go for the full greedy Battle Fury build, not having to get the Vanguard early on. Will mean that he's a little less tanky if he does join a fight, but with the way this game is going, I don't think there's going to be too many fights until we start seeing these big items. Xantic, 100 gold away from the Blink Dagger. That's going to be massive for D2 Hustlers. And for the side of Into the Breach, I mean, they don't really have anything big coming online, especially with Respect going down. So it's going to be hard for them to try and match the pace that can be coming out from D2 Hustlers in the next couple of minutes.
We see that Hakoda on this Disruptor, he was nearby for the kill, got some experience. The kill that Xantic got finishes off his Blink Dagger. He's having it delivered now. They do need Hakoda, though, for a smoke move. And I guess they don't want to reveal this just yet. Do you remember which team it was where they hid the courier behind the tier 1 until they actually went for a smoke play?
Yeah, I remember that. Oh,
which team was it that we did? Well, anyway, I don't think he needs to do so right now as he goes for the Avalanche toss onto Supreme. Just to save the Yoloko. Supreme's already committed the Swashbuckle. It's back now, though. They're turning their attention back towards the Yoloko. Pit of Malice from Shebe with the Firestorm. Ensure that they get the kill. Shebe can just Dark Rift back to whence he came in this top lane. So, nice quick pick off for the side of D2 Hustlers. They don't manage to find success with the reveal on the Blink Dagger. That feels really good. You don't die, and you make sure that you are aware of the Blink before it makes a big impact. Feels great.
Yeah, it feels really, really good to be able to keep that in your back pocket, right? Haven't been able to find that game. Maybe it was Ancient Tribe, because I do see that there was a tiny, because I remember it was a tiny on the Dire side as well.
The courier was like right
yeah, I do remember that, and those kind of plays are really massive for these Blink initiators, to be able to not have to show your Blink Dagger before you get a kill with it. And it becomes paid off. And now D2 Hustlers, with this Blink Dagger, they can just pick up this tempo, and it's going to be hard for Into the Breach to try and fight this, especially if Supreme is the one that's going down, because he's really starting to fall behind on the net worth. I didn't see how crazy it was until Xantic picked up that Blink Dagger. 1,400 gold behind his counterpart, so he's a decent ways away from this Diffuser Blade, whereas Xantic can continue to farm and also continue to fight, because he has this Blink and has this Avalanche Toss combo, which can kill most heroes in the game.
Where did this gold come from for Xantic, actually? Because they have similar amounts of CS between the two. He's only about 10 behind right now, but there's a pretty large net worth differential between the Pango and the Tiny. Where the hell did that gold come? I suppose they got the tower bottom.
Tower gold?
Yeah, it's only one tower. This is like
yeah, that's the only thing I can think of is tower gold, and the extra 10 CS is like maybe he got a lot more neutral creeps in the jungle rather than Supreme getting lane creeps.
Well, right now though, for D2 Hustlers, they still haven't been able to convert that net worth on the Tiny into kills. They will lose their tower in the top lane. Article commits the Metamorphosis to get this down, but they smoke up on D2 Hustlers. Hakoda has the level 6, so they have the really big combination. They just drop onto Mirana, try to get an easy kill. Davai Lama will clean that one up. Immersion is like, thanks boys, giving me team vision, allow us to come back middle and defend our own tier 1. Like, you don't really care about losing the Mirana if you get to protect the tier 1 at the same time, so ITB are doing surprisingly well right now.
Yeah, especially because it was a double core movement, right? Like, you put the Tiny in the same position where your Timbersaw was, and you only lose a pos 4. You're like, yeah, it's not the worst. And yeah, I think ITB are doing a good job at kind of trying to stem the bleeding. I don't think they're, losing out the game super hard, but they're doing a good job at just stabilizing the game, giving Otika places to farm, and now they're starting to fight too.
They're going in for this Rolling Thunder onto Xantic. Nice usage of this hook. Coming in from Respect to buy space and time, not allowing Xantic any avenue of escape. They even came in with this Dark Rift. And the protection from the Static Storm, unfortunately, not going to be enough to try and keep the Tiny alive. Let's see how much further they can pursue this fight, though. Divine Llama lost half his HP inside this Firestorm, but they do run out of Disable. The one major drawback of the ITB lineup is holding these heroes in position. Neither of these lineups have the best lockdown in the world. So ITB, they get the one kill, though. Pretty big onto Adzentic, and yet again, still keeping the tier 1 tower alive.
No, that was a good fight. They need to try and get a kill on a core soon here for ITB. It really stabilizes the game, and as you said, like keeping these mid tier 1 towers live is going to be super important for both the Animagens farm and the Terrorblades farm, because there's a lot of heroes that can pressure both of them if they don't have these kind of safety nets for them to try and play around with. Same thing with the ITB. They really want to try and protect this triangle, because TB is going to be one of those heroes that isn't going to push on the other side of the map until he feels strong, whereas the Animage can play a little bit more dangerously inside of the Radiant jungle off the back of this tier 1 tower going down bottom.
Okay.
Kill the core. He's going to break a smoke.
Yep. It's his turn to do support duties. Breaks the smoke, tanks his own death, keeping the game alive for Yuma. Though it's actually such good positioning for him, because him being there not only breaks the smoke coming in from the mid lane, it also makes sure that there's no rotations that can come through from the riverside. So Anti-Mage gets to leap out. He stays safe. He's got his Battle Fury, still farming. They still do have hookshot though, so they might not be done with this fight. But unfortunately, they haven't scouted out this Observer Ward inside the Radiant jungle. They know where they're at, so they know that there's no fight coming on the side of D2 Hustlers. That enables them to smoke instead.
Yeah, they're looking for somebody in the top side of the map, but nobody from ITB are even thinking about that. Now the hook again, Theola core. Oh, this is rough.
He should be dead here. And Immersion doesn't even need to commit Sacred Arrow. They're still on cooldown. They find the kill. This should be the tower. Otaka does have meta and has a fair few illusions available. So if you go in for this tower, they have a Siege Dragon as well. So this should certainly be a tier 1 falling. I don't know if we can fight this on the side of D2 Hustlers. Supreme has Rolling Thunder. He just picked up Diffusal Blade. Fighting into this feels like suicide. I think you just let this one go.
Yeah, ITB have really hit this nice item timing around the 15-minute mark. They've got the Rod of Atos built up. Otaka's got his Yasha as well as his Dragonlance, and Diffusal Blade being built up for Supreme. So they've got a good amount of these early game items to be able to start to pressure out D2 Hustlers. So are a little bit greedy with their draft, right? Like, you know, Timbersaw plus AM, kind of greedy cause, and especially if they aren't able to fight early, but this could be big.
Big fight happening potentially here. Divine Llama getting rolled upon right now. He's the one that got the setup initially. He's out of mana. Does manage to Timber Chain away from the arrow, but they will not have any option against the Pit of Malice. He's out of mana, and now he's out of life as well. Those raindrops did a huge job in keeping him alive, but everything has its limits. And they go 1-1 in that situation. Divine Llama's life taken away. And Static Storm used. And Supreme, what a huge swashbuckle with the shield crash. Two heroes caught inside Pit of Malice. Adzentic gonna find himself rooted up by this Rod of Atos picked up by Shibe. And D2 Hustlers will lose another life. And Theoloco, where did he come from? Well, no matter where he came from, I can tell you where he's going. Straight back into the fountain. As D2 Hustlers being dismantled right now by the side of ITB.
Yeah, and this is what I talked about just before, right? Like this nice item timing that they have where their TB is a lot stronger than what the Animage is, so he's more than ready to fight. And the same thing with Ziba and Supreme. Like these heroes just have easier ways of getting this fight going, whereas D2 Hustlers, they kind of need Divine Llama to start joining these fights so they can have, you know, the same kind of numbers, but he's in this awkward spot where he's not overly tanky just yet. He does a boatload of damage with this Kaya and Sanj, but it's so easy for, you know, Supreme to come in, swashbuckle him 1 to 2 times, and Zibe now with this Rod of Atos means they've got good catch.
Tons of setup onto Divide. Do they have what it takes to kill him though? He's still fairly tanky, but he's dead for sure. My goodness. Not as tanky as he thought he might be with the Sanj and Kaya. And they're going right now onto Adzentic as well. This is yet another core. And this is the problem here, Fluke. Strength cores versus Shibe. How much damage did this Underlord do? He did most of the damage in that fight against both of these heroes.
Yeah, it's crazy. And the thing is with Timber is he needs a way of getting out of this Rod of Atos and Pit of Malice combo, because if Zibe has Immersion anywhere near him, you can Pit first or you can Rod first, you arrow him, and then you Pit after that. And then that means that you have probably about 10 to, like, the entire duration of Firestorm to be able to deal the damage to this Timber.
Well, Timber.
Yeah, this Underlord pick is absolutely owning. This is, Zibe's playing it really, really well as well. I like that he went for this Rod of Atos early, understanding that they just need that little bit of extra lockdown. They needed to set up for the Mirana, and they can just deal so much damage. And now that he's gotten this Rod of Atos, it's just turning into more net worth because he's getting so many kills, and they're just walking around the map and starting to close down the areas that Yuma can play on this Animage. And yeah, this is starting to look scary if you're a D2 Hustlers fan right now.
To make matters even worse, we were talking about the lack of lockdown, and he buys us ATOS, but it's also so good in this game into anti-mage. Manta, you need this Manta just to try and do anything in these fights, but if you find yourself Mantering too soon, Pit of Malice, Firestorm easily isolate you, then they know who you are, you get ATOS'd, then you just die. And anti-mage, unfortunately, is also not one of these heroes that likes to build like raw armor, right? He builds stats so he gets armor in that direction, but because he doesn't go for raw armor nor for raw HP, it's gonna hurt being mauled down by Otaka. It's not gonna be the easiest game for him to play on this AM. As now they're going for his Aegis. It's dead. It's already gone.
Fast they kill Roche.
Yep.
Alright, this is one thing that I really hope we see in the new patch. Pango needs to be nerfed, dog. Like, this hero is bonkers. Like, this Pango hero is messed up when he has a free game like this. Like, Lucky Shot has been insane ever since they changed it to armor reduction instead of, what was it, silence and disarm in the previous one. Now it's just a disarm and armor reduction. And Rolling Thunder is insane. Like, yeah, this Pango hero is probably one of the better mid laners that we've got right now in the game.
Better? I think you mean best, sir. What's better than this, honestly? Like, Ember's not as good as Pango. We've seen Ember games fall apart. We've seen some tiny games fall apart.
Slightly better than Pango in the right. If they're both in games where neither of them have like their direct counters, I think Bat's a little bit better than
counterpoints.
Pango.
Counterpoints. It's much easier to pick a draft that has some kind of address against Batrider. But let's put it this way: you can first pick Pango in pretty much every game and still feel decently good about it. You sort of have to like curate the draft for a Batrider. Just Pango's too good. Oh, Dionico, also actually a little bit too good. Went for some pretty big outplays. Nice Hurricane down to the low ground, but they still catch him. They're way too fast, way too mobile with their draft. And they're not done fighting just yet. When they go back on the dark grip, look who they found. They found Divine. No, Divine! He went onto the high ground with the Timber Chain. That's going to doom him for sure. He is not going to be able to make it out of this one. I say that, but they get the Timber Chain down. They don't connect with the Sacred Arrow from Immersion. A little bit too far away. And Respect was there, but he didn't want to throw in the hook shot. I think he thought that the team had it. So I'm very surprised that they do that, and Respect actually gets punished for this. Okay. D2 Hustler's getting a little bit lucky, but sometimes you rely on luck. Luck is also a skill, and this time it goes in favor of D2. Is he dead? No, he's fine. He's... Oh my god, actually TP'd out right in front of him. Oh my god. He didn't know. He didn't know.
He didn't know.
Oh no.
Pepe laughed, he lacked the critical information. But yes, Supreme in that previous fight just missed the second stun onto Dalai Lama with the roll up in the Dire jungle, so that definitely would have been a Dalai Lama kill for the side of Into the Breach. But they're playing with a lot of pace, and D2 Hustlers, they need this game to slow down a considerable amount. They need Dalai Lama to get his BKB, they need Yuma to get... I mean, does he need to go BKB as well? I'm not sure if he can go it, because they need the damage and the lockdown from the AM.
Oof, damn. Speaking of lockdown and damage, Supreme and Immersion, they have it in space. The inhibit from the Diffusal Blade sets up for the arrow, not connect onto this Theolocore Enchantress. I think BKB, it's probably the best option, because I don't want to see him go hot, because there's already an Underlord on the other side. Maybe Butterfly's not too bad here as a survival mechanism against CB, who hates buying the Monkey King. King Bar. Speaking of Monkey King Bar, doesn't need a top because Divine Lama, like you say, is making space. Unfortunately, that space might come at the cost of his own life. He tried to get away with the Timber Chain. Immersion still alive, but should end up dead on this Divine Lama. No vengeance to claim onto the Morana either. Well, yeah, that's not great. That's not fun. That also is going to guarantee, off the back of that kill, that this Pango likely finishes this Aghanim set within the next 2-3 minutes. That's very, very scary.
Yeah. Hakoda? Oh, he's still dead. Alright.
Yeah. Well, I said 2-3 minutes. Let's shorten that duration to maybe 90 seconds before the Axe comes out for Pango. Just farming. That's doing way too well right now in the early game.
Yeah, and this is the unfortunate thing for the draft the D2 Hustlers have, and this is why I wasn't 100% sold on the Tiny, is it's so hard for him to transition when he's behind. Like, he has Blink Echo. That's it. 23 minutes, while as the Pango, who he was beating at the start of the game, now has Blink, Diffusal Blade, and basically an Ags on the way. So, you know, Supreme is doing a really, really good job of just playing with the pace that he needed to this game, to be able to get his team through this mid-game. And Yeah, I don't know, man. Like D2 Hustlers, they need their next set of items. They need BKB. They need Yuma to get his next item as well. But like even then, like how are they supposed to deal with Pango? How are they ever supposed to kill Zibe? Like that is my question. Is if you spend all this time trying to kill one of the other cores, like you're not going to kill the Underlord. Like, and I don't think they have enough damage or enough spells to be able to kill all three of these cores from Into the Breach. And I said that, you know, it's kind of all on Otaka here on the Terrorblade, but Zibe as well as Supreme are really abusing this early stages on their two heroes that make them strong. And now it's in a point where D2 Hustlers are so far behind that it doesn't matter that it's only like a traditional one core, that they just don't have the damage to kill these semi-cores, which is a big problem for D2 Hustlers.
Another problem has emerged now as Terrorblade has picked up the Butterfly for himself. This item has quite a lot of flack lately for not being that great. But in a game like this, nobody on the enemy team wants to buy MKB. The only potential option is Anti-Mage, but Anti-Mage has other options for items in mind. So he's just not going to die. Once he pops BKB, literally immortal in the midst of these fights. We spoke about how hard it's going to be, like when we just looked at the draft, but this itemization makes it even more difficult. Zavilama gets hooked upon right now. Do they have the damage to kill him?
He's mega dead.
He is going to be able to pop the BKB to try and survive here, but he's still going to end up losing his life. Oh no. That's the BKB reveal. That's 9 seconds. Down and out. A tier 2 tower about to fall as well. And this was D2 Hustlers thinking that they could pose aggressively, posture a little bit because they knew that the Aegis has just expired. But the difference in strength is still way too large between them and ITB.
Is this TB meta skin pay to win? He has a DD rune on right now. You wouldn't be able to tell. Because I
see.
I didn't notice until I looked back and I was like, man, that Timber melted. And then I was like, oh yeah, that's right. He has a DD rune. You can't see it because of his meta form. So maybe the Vilama, like when he went into there, obviously he didn't even see the DD got bottled. But even in that fight, like if you're that Timbersaw, you're like, did I really just die that fast? But in actuality, it was a DD rune. So that is something that I'd imagine in these next couple of fights he's going to be a little bit tankier up against the TB. So it's not all doom and gloom just yet, but the fact that he used his 9-second BKB and still went down is pretty massive. These next couple of Roche fights are going to be super important for D2 Hustlers to try and get a pick beforehand, because if they can get an Aegis, they can delay this game for a little bit longer, but it's going to get to the point where the AM's just going to get out-carried by a Terrorblade. So I don't know how late they can really go here for D2 Hustlers.
So check this out. If they don't know that that was a DD, now I'm thinking maybe now, Devilama, you're saying that he should be tanky in the upcoming fight. But if he doesn't know that there's a DD, maybe he overestimates how strong TB is and then doesn't actually play aggressively because he's scared. So this might just be pay to win. You're right, Sotaka. With the right cosmetic for this game.
Big brain.
Adgentic, the hero that still has not been able to really scale in this game on the Tiny, sitting at the bottom of the net worth of all the cores. Does have BKB and is building into getting the Echo Saber yet again. So we'll have some options to keep farming, but unfortunately, the way that this game is going, there's not that much space to keep that farm up. In the top lane, Theological just going to be forced to TP away. Does not want any smoke with Otaka, who's not far away from having Skadi. Dude, Skadi, Butterfly with BKB on Terrorblade in a game like this. Yeah. Good luck, AM. And that's even before the Manta style. Doesn't even have Manta yet, but he will have it eventually. Down bottom, though, they're going to try and get a quick pick onto Shibe. They're chasing him behind the tower. There's going to be a bit of malice directly onto Devilama. He might be forced into the early BKB. Supreme rolling in with the Rolling Thunder. He connected onto the AM. That's the priority target. He catches him through the Manta style as well. Actually, huge hook shot from the far side of the fight coming in from Respect. Just as the AM was about to blink himself away. Oh my god. And they're going to Dark Rift here, Fluke. They're going to keep the aggression going. They found Theological inside the Dire Triangle. He is dead for sure. The arrow will not connect from immersion, but it doesn't need to. Shiba gets a dominating streak. And with no anti-mage, this is surely going to be a lane of racks through the mid lane.
Yeah, Lana Rax or Roche, whatever tickles their fancy here. Fortunately for immersion, that was a Rod of Atos stopped Enchantress, and he still missed the arrow. So we'll get one little strike on immersion's record this time around. He hits the hard ones and misses the easy ones. But the way that Into the Breach are playing, man, this is insane. You know, Zibe talked about it when they beat Ancient Tribe. I think it was about that in Western Europe, with how close these teams are, it's much more about team matchups rather than the form of the teams that are going into this. D2 Hustlers, like a perfect example, right? Completely undefeated so far in Western Europe and into the breach. They're 1-3, man. Like these guys are just fighting to even have the chance at looking at going in towards Division 1. And they are dominating these guys in Game 1. Yes, it is a full best of 3, but this has been a pretty even draft. They gave D2 Hustlers a lot of the good heroes at the patch, a lot of good heroes that they've had success with as well. And they're just coming in and they're just playing with a lot of gusto and a lot of... Just their movements are just really crisp. I think they've really kind of out-macroed D2 Hustlers this time around. And unfortunately for Yuma, he just hasn't gotten in this game. He's 1-1-0 in a 29-minute game with over 30 kills. So, like... It's getting rough.
So I forget which game it was. Which game was it? The anti-mage game where he farmed for like 40 minutes, joined one fight, then called GG. And they were just like, well, we can't actually do anything. I think
was it like a God King game like ages ago? I swear I've seen God King do the same thing.
God King's done a lot of it. There was a recent game, I think it was in NA. The best example I've seen of an anti-mage recently, though, there was a Chinese anti-mage being played by, I think it was Ghost that played it. So what he did is that they were losing the game for 50 minutes, Fluke. But at 50 minutes, he arrived like 7 slots and he was like, all right, boys, let's go. He found like one Mana Void that got an instant triple kill. And then they were like, we can win the game. Sadly, Divine Llama, I don't think you have that kind of option of just one big Mana Void. Forced into popping the BKB. So he's down to 7 seconds and not one BKB has been popped offensively from him. And ITB, they're like, sweet, we forced out a big spell from him. It is time to go see the big man and get ourselves an Aegis and an Agamemnon shot.
Yeah, this is, again, just great macro movement from Into the Breach. They understand that all they need to do is make it so D2 Hustlers don't feel confident in fighting them, and that's off the back of Timbersaw having a BKB. So they just walk in, they get an Aegis now on the Terrorblade. Last Aegis went towards Supreme. Who got the shard? Clock?
Who did get the shot?
I think Respect got it.
Let's see. Yeah, it looks like Respect because they already had it on Pango. I believe Underlord had already bought his own one.
Yeah, the Underlord shard is definitely in the build, so I'd imagine they probably just gave it to Respect. Give a little bit of respect to Respect. Be like, you played well this game, man. Here's your free shard.
Yeah, look at his net worth. It has to be him, right? Because he only has Drums, Lemma Cape, and Tranquil Boots. So it looks like he's the one that received the blessing. And mid lane, they're going to be blessing Divine Llama yet again with some more damage. He still doesn't have his BKB just yet. The Static Storm will drop down from Hakoda, but as proven several times in this game, it's not a catch-all solution. Hakoda himself will get himself brought down by Supreme, and they take down this young Timbersaw as well from Divine Llama. Shibe, we spoke about the presence of this Underlord in the draft, but man, this has worked out perfectly for them throughout the game. And now they're looking for another lane of Rax top. They didn't finish it off completely in the mid lane. So Ataka will come here. Dude, you know how confident you have to feel to be split pushing Rax 3 and 2, and you're still going to get both of them almost guaranteed?
Yeah, they can see Yuma's trying to get a trade in the bottom side, and at this point, that's the only thing D2 Hustlers can hope for is a trade, because they can't get mega creep, so that's a good thing for them, is they know that they can't get megaed. But you lose 2 full lanes of Rax. Do they even get the tier 3 tower bottom? Yuma gets it. Oh, he got caught though.
He should be fine. He should be fine. Yeah. As Manta can counterspell the Rod of Atos, he should be okay. TP's out. And oh, dude, if he had Basher already, that might have cancelled the TP because Supreme caught him with the swashbuckle. Would have been incredible. Very intriguing item build here from Supreme to just completely skip over getting the Basher, but given how well he's doing in the game, I think we can... We give him the credit to do what the hell he wants. He's doing too well.
Yeah, I think this is the build that I've been seeing Nisha go on Pango. Just turns you into a damage dealing core a little bit earlier on.
Speaking of damage, Hakoda might suffer it himself. Forced to go into yet another defensive Static Storm. And yet again, will still die for this one. Jetpack, keeping the clockwork alive. And here comes Supreme, rolling onto the anti-mage. AM, is he going to get arrowed? He will not. I'm not sure, but he definitely gets stunned up afterwards. They're still closing in onto him. Does manage to finally blink himself away. The Timbersaw does manage to bring down the clockwork on the far edge of the tier 2 tower. So that's something. So it looked like there was an Abyssal onto Pango just as the arrow connected. That was a weird set of events, but ultimately Yuma survives, but they still get the tier 2 tower. Is Divine going to try to deny this? No, that's just not going to happen.
You have to be careful. You can get a lot of his mana burned here. He's going to be okay with the damage-wise, but you know, losing a lot of your mana here is Going to be a bit rough. He has the Agate himself to pick up now as well for Divine Llama, so he can do a lot of damage in these fights once his BKB start getting lower, but it's just gotten to the point in the game now where they're 19k behind. They've lost 2 lanes of racks. Oh, Divine.
Pops BKB here. There's gonna be a glimpse back onto this emerging Mirana. She's dead, but Anzentic not so lucky. Oh my god! Supreme, Shibe, and Otaka eat this tiny alive, and now Divine Llama doesn't have BKB anymore. Needs to be very careful. Yuma, no! He blinked in, but he blinked into the Rolling Thunder. And the Pit of Malice, and the right click damage from Otaka. He is gone. Buyback is available. Definitely doesn't want to have to use it. Supreme now gets the mop up onto Divine Llama. Hakoda does come back in. Has the Static Storm drop down. He really wants to try and find this. Yuma brought back, but Yuma gets hexed. Yuma gets killed. Supreme doesn't even die for this one. And I think that's it. That's curtains. Die back on the anti-mage. Anzentic still gonna die. He dies a second before his BKB comes back. Oh my god. From bad to worse to absolutely horrendous. ITB mop up D2 Hustlers and